New tonight, we're hearing from more witnesses describing what they saw and heard in an officer-involved shooting in southwest Wichita. According to Wichita police, a wellness check was called on a 27-year-old man.
Police say an officer approached the home. A gunshot then was heard from inside of a vehicle, and that officer opened fire. The man died at the scene. Now, neighbors are telling us what they saw and heard. Thomas Lynch joins us live from that neighborhood after talking with them. And Thomas, the accounts differ somewhat.
That's right, Mike. We're hearing a lot of different accounts, and they're all varying to different degrees. And, you know, without body cam footage being released yet, it's making this very, very hard to piece together exactly what happened.
It kind of happened. I mean, it happened quick.
Trenton Nobles has lived on Haskell for years. He says nothing like last night has ever happened before.
I saw some cops down the street, kind of just chatting to some people, and then I saw them kind of make their way down more closer to our house. Chatting to some of our neighbors.
His account lines up with what police say happened when they arrived on scene around 3:30 Monday afternoon.
Officers, including crisis intervention team trained officers and mental health co-responders, arrived here at about the same time and began gathering information to assess the situation.
But after that, the three stories start to differ. The first difference is when they are approaching the car parked in the driveway.
As one of the officers approached the driver's side window, a gunshot was fired from inside the vehicle.
I heard a sort of muffled noise. Not really sure if it was a gunshot or not.
Nobody shot at them. I heard 4 rounds and saw it coming from the blonde officer's firearm.
Then right after that, I heard 3 shots from the cop and actually saw him shoot the vehicle.
We took this photo last night as the vehicle was being towed away. You can clearly see 3 holes in the back window.
Officers immediately began providing life-saving measures to the male. The man was pronounced dead here at the scene by EMS.
Still, Combs says he stands by what he saw.
They didn't acknowledge their presence. They didn't tell him to drop anything. There was nothing said at all. There was just 4 rounds, and the man was dead.
The Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office is in charge of the investigation. As of now, there is still no update and no released footage from body cams or images or anything like that. We'll make sure to update you as we learn more. Here in Wichita, Thomas Lynch, 12 News.